Live from Capitol Hill, just yards away from where the trial of the century, the trial of Donald J. Trump, continues, and the third impeachment in the nation's history. Now we're in the 2 days of questions and answers that is kind of refereed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So it's a very historic day. You know, you don't see this. Senators writing questions like kids in third grade, right, up to the teacher. The teacher reads them. And then either the House managers or the president's defense team answers them. We're live on Capitol Hill. It is 29 January, the year of our Lord 2020. It's Wednesday evening, 127th day of captivity under Nancy Pelosi. And we're going to talk in a little while about, we're going to wind this thing up, or we're going to continue on for another 127. John Fredericks Radio Network, America's Voice.news, the platform for the Trump movement. They do all the rallies, including last night, a wild one in Wildwood, New Jersey. Newsmax TV, Chris Ruddy's great team, and of course Salem Radio throughout the nation. I want to turn to the guys.
You need a Red Bull or something?
Yeah, I know. It's just I'm trying to be. I'm still in my mellow pandemic mode, so I don't want. In pandemic, I try to be more serious, right, more focused. I think this has been different than I thought it was going to be. The question and answers, right? It's really not questions and answers. It's promulgation. It's kind of either your Don in the English school sense or whatever, telling you your thesis is not totally thought through or not prepared. Refine your thesis, right? Yeah. It's like a Don or your mentor, whatever it is in school, going through your thesis and tell you, refine this argument, refine that argument.
They're effectively getting prompts from the Senate floor. The lawyers are getting prompts from the Senate floor, from the senators who want them to advance certain niche arguments or certain tangential parts
I
of
don't
arguments.
think. I don't think it's tangential. I think it's tangential and niche in the managers. I think it's kind of broader themed in the a little bit in the. That's how Dershowitz. We'll get to him. Dershowitz Unchained got in there.
Unhinged.
Look, unhinged. You know, this is only an observation, not a criticism. Because I think that they're so strong and we're so good, I would have liked to seen the president's defense team take 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds.
So two things can be true at the same time here. Republicans can still be on track to have this dismissed even as soon as Friday. That's what Senator John Barrasso, who's in Republican leadership from Wyoming, that's what he said just...
By the way, Senator Barrasso is the static display every time Mitch comes to the microphone, right? You got Thune on one shoulder and Barrasso on the other, right? So he's not out there winging it, right? He doesn't go rogue. That index card's been signed off by Mitch, by McConnell before he says it.
Exactly. And so this is laying it down that, hey, despite any of the drama earlier with Dershowitz, and I'm going to transition right into that, we're still on track. We're still in pretty good shape here.
That's a huge newsflash, because everything going into this was that they got 4, maybe more.
And all of the questions that are coming out so far, Murkowski's been participating in them, Romney's been participating. There haven't been questions that have been completely knock your socks off to where it'd be a red flag and say, danger, Will Robinson. But all of that to aside.
What questions would those be that would make you think that, hey, we've got some disgruntled guys up here?
Well,
what types of questions would you have to hear to say, hey, I think we're going to have a jailbreak?
You'd have to have someone get up there and be completely unable to answer the question, stumble around, stammer, have no idea how to answer it, or say something that's completely adverse to what you'd previously said.
Oh, like Alan Dershowitz.
So let's get to Dershowitz for a minute. So two things can be true at the same time. Like I said, we can be on track. But I don't think...
Is this the way you make clients feel better? I know that's a phrase.
He's waiting for me to jump in.
It's a phrase you use often. That's how you make clients feel better. When it's about to hit the fan, that's how you...
Because the news headlines for today are going to be terrible. Alan Dershowitz got up there, and the headline from CNN right now, Alan Dershowitz argues presidential quid pro quos aimed at re-election are not impeachable. So... I want to do.
He did.
Yeah. So I want to do a comparison. This is one of those moments where anyone who's ever played on a sports team, I don't care if it's in Little League or in college, or if you've been in a pivotal work type situation in your life where you get down the home stretch and like, guys, we have one goal. Just don't screw up. Right. We're fine. Run out the clock, run the 4 corners, no mistakes, and we're going to win. This is the thing that I would say to Trump allies after the president would get done with his second and third debates in particular, and we're getting ready to go face the media. And guys, here's the thing. President won the debate tonight. All we have to do is go out there and drive his message. If you get jammed up, someone asks you a question you don't know, just say, I don't know, next question, and move on. Just don't screw anything up.
Right. Don't be the headline.
Don't try to come up with something new. Alan Dershowitz, what was something new today, and it's going to drive all the news.
This is what I don't understand. He's experienced enough, although this is not his main line of work, right? The constitutional stuff. It's really the criminal law stuff. How would he think? Because most experienced lawyers would tell you that. In the question and answer, where you're not going to have a ton of time to do follow-up because they limit them to 5 minutes, why do you come up with something that's just going to come across as a whole new theory?
Inexplicable. And I'm surprised we didn't get a follow-up question, because there have been follow-ups to questions today as well. I'm surprised we didn't get a follow-up question that was just, excuse me? Because what we have a saying in football, in soccer terms, right? Park the bus. And I think this gets to what you're saying, right? When you're in this situation, you're just running down the clock. You don't try and score more goals. You just park the bus in front of the opposition so they can't try and score any or get it level pegging. And Dershowitz appears to have broken out, is running downfield. He's just forgotten to take the ball with him. Okay, what happened was today, and look, let's explain to the audience what the argument was, right?
Yep.
The argument, as far as Alan Dershowitz was concerned, in one of his responses today, was that if the president believes that he is the right person to be president, as all presidents must do, then his actions must surely be in the national interest, because he believes that him being president, by virtue of him being president, is in the national interest. And therefore, no matter what he does, it's in the national interest, and therefore any quid pro quo is not impeachable as a result of that. But that is a ludicrous argument on the face of it. I don't think Alan Dershowitz really intended even to get there in what he was saying, because he started off with quite an important analogy. And by the way, it wasn't lost on me that it's an analogy that we raised on this show a couple of months ago, when Bernie Sanders got on the stage a couple of months ago at one of his rallies and said, hey, I would cut off all aid to Israel unless they stop building settlements. That's a quid pro quo. That's exactly the same thing as it's a policy for policy, right? The Ukrainian policy is to take money from the United States. The US policy would be to get something that they need in return. And the same thing as Bernie Sanders. That's fine. Alan, at that point, get off the stage. But he didn't. He then advanced a further and different argument that, again, I think in the cold light of day, he'll look back on and go, yeah, I don't know how I ended up there.
I mean, shorter Alan Dershowitz would have been just get up there and say this was an anti-perfect phone call. Because that's basically what he said. I mean, it's the farthest thing away from President Trump. How has he been successful this entire time? Unity and substance. So why are we throwing out
Okay,
divisions?
talking about the taxes, what I was surprised, because they took a Senate break after that, and it wasn't exactly after, they came to a break. Why have they not tried to rehab him? Why have they not come back with a question that kind of says, we know you really didn't mean to say it that way, so we really want the headline on CNN to come down, so tell us what you told us the other day, because this is not that. This is a radical form of that.
I mean, if I'm Pat Cipollone, if Alan even starts walking up towards that podium, I'm going to chop block him. I'm just going to make sure that, I'm not letting him get up there. I mean, Sekulo's a pretty big guy. He's a low center of gravity. I would just say, Sekulo, take him out. Don't let him up there. Let's get a killer like Pam up there, or Mike Purpura. Patrick Philbin, I do got to say, and Steve, just before we started the show, you made a really good point about the opportunity cost of us not using all the time, as Raheem said in his Daily Caller op-ed. There was a really good answer Patrick Philbin had, where one of the senators, I think it was Jim Inhofe, and it was co-signed by like 4 or 5 senators, but they're like, walk us through the actual funding mechanism of this money to Ukraine. And for all the Dem lies, they make it sound like all these people were dying on the battlefield and we didn't send these javelins and they're just bodies strewn all over the Eastern Front. No, this is a 5-year outlay. Nothing was delayed or hurt or impacted. This is a future 5 years going. So nothing has been adversely impacted in the slightest.
All that the thing you heard about our allies, fighting the Russian tanks on the Eastern Front and all that. This is a future projected.
Right. Patrick,
which is
Philbin,
the first time that's ever come up. The way he explained
That's what I'm saying. Patrick gave a great answer.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're hearing it. There are a whole bunch of little things like that
Big
that
time.
would pop up. And I'm like, why are we just now hearing about this?
There's such a robust defense of the president. The first time people hear it, even if you only had the 8 hours, play it 3 times. Go back to the start and just play it again. I'm a huge believer. They know about propaganda and just driving it into people's minds. That's what the president's defense. And I think today, hopefully, somebody said they may not go 16 hours. The Republicans just got to keep asking questions if it's just to go over and over and get to some of the videos, get to some of the things where the montages, where they're, the Rocky montage you like so much.
There
right?
were also some missed opportunities. So there was a question that Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz teamed up on a question. They basically did a hypothetical, and I thought it was written in such a great way. It was
So did
basically,
I.
it was like if you had Mitt Romney's kid who was making this money from this foreign leader and going and basically set the thing up to this is the Joe and Hunter
And it was
Biden
a foul
story.
tip.
And it was right.
The
And it was-
answer was a foul tip.
And the answer was that. And I even tweeted this out. I was like, I got to think they're coming with a follow-up question and be like, actually, X, Y, and Z, you didn't answer.
Yeah,
You go
just
through
re-ask it.
And just re-ask it. And
Re-ask
just say,
it.
we want you to,
Yeah.
respectfully
Use this
speak, and
example.
to the house manager, you didn't answer last question. Please do it again. And then they went on to something lame.
First
the
off,
next time.
I think they ought to take a deep breath. When Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, right, who have two pretty healthy egos, when they co-sign a question, they ought to treat it like a papal bull, okay? I think the guys really want to have a reflective answer here. Let's take our time.
I think it is also worth remembering that Alan Dershowitz isn't really on the Trump defense team here, according to Alan Dershowitz, right? I just want to remind people of that this is the opinion of Alan Dershowitz.
Okay, let me say something. He says he represents the Constitution. The Constitution called and wants to fire him. Okay, they don't want to pay the bill.
And the Constitution never hired him because what he was arguing therefore with his answer there was that there is no impeachable offense ever.
The one thing, okay, but we ought to pull this. There have been there have been voices over there that have not argued this extreme, but argue that. We ought to find out tonight, are there any of those coming to his defense? I haven't seen anybody come to his defense so far.
Dershowitz?
Right. Dershowitz.
No, it's ludicrous. You won't. I mean, I don't think the most gung ho Trump fans would come to Alan Dershowitz's defense over this. It's a silly thing to have.
Well, what I
injected.
didn't like about was the fact it was inartfully laid out.
Yeah.
It played into their meme to be able to put this up on the.
I think it needs to be cleaned up. Okay, the thing that needs to happen is the question needs to be asked again.
Why do you think after they took a break? Look, these are a lot of smart guys, and as Jason said earlier, there's a lot of cutters in the Senate. This is what I didn't understand. I thought that'd be the first thing. The first three questions would be get Dershowitz up or Cipollone, get him to clean this thing up. Why did that not happen? Why did that? That's allowing that to sit up there, and Aaron Burnett's going to lead with it. AC 360 is going to have 5 constitutional lawyers up there.
Yep.
This is what they're going to say, and this is Trump as dictator,
Well,
right? This is the way Trump thinks the good for him is the good of the nation, right? What's good for him personally is for the good of the nation. This is how he thinks about it, etc. And his lawyer says that.
What's very clear on the Democrat side is that they have coordinated and rehearsed every single question. The
That's
good
another
senator
point.
has this question. Let's go to the video. I didn't know you were going to ask this. This is what a coincidence. That'd be slide 2, please.
It's so staged.
And Shifty looks over there. You can tell that several of ours, particularly with Patrick, like anytime it's one of those, when Patrick Philbin goes up there to answer it, like, okay, he's going to go inside baseball. He's going to do like you said, the appellate lawyer, and he's going to get way technical in the weeds. And the legal nerds are going to say he did a great job.
Right. Nobody else is going to understand
We're
it.
not going to understand it, but the legal people say, actually, that was really smart. He did a good job. Okay, so you feel comfortable
Exactly.
if Patrick Philbin's going up there.
Smart proxies tell you that he's
Yes.
doing a good job.
It's like, hey, send the smart kid with glasses. Get him up there to go and do it.
in the rep tie.
Exactly. That's fine. What happened here was clearly there was a lack of discipline. They had not practiced or planned this out with Alan. And when he has room to freelance, then things like this happen. So, I mean, earlier today, maybe this is just a plan to own the libs because he went on The View earlier today because, hey.
Hold it. I didn't see that. I was working. Don't tell me Alan Dershowitz went on the View.
Oh, yeah.
They only did that, by the way. ABC and The View only does this if it can help put the president's case forward in a better light.
Right.
Right. They only have Dershowitz so they know it's going to help the president.
So on a park the bus day, because now I'm a footballer, right?
There
So
you go.
I can say things like this. On a park the bus day, he's going on The View. The headline on Daily Beast, which isn't exactly the Bible, but is "Oh God, Whoopi Goldberg threatens to cut off rambling Dershowitz in contentious interview." And then some of the other headlines, Mediaite says, "Watch Alan Dershowitz proposes $1,000 bet to The View Sunny Hostin in bonkers impeachment debate." I couldn't even go through and watch it myself. I saw the headlines. I was like, sweet Jiminy Christmas. Is this the president's? I mean, what is going
First
on?
of all, please tell him we got to have the word. We have to have him check. He didn't bring the Not Me Too book, his new self-published tome, which I saw him wandering around Fox one time thinking he was going to go on a show. I said, I don't think they're going to give him the airtime on this thing. He's got like Not Me Too, right? That's his new. It's a self-published, something about him and Epstein or whatever his defense.
Goodness. I believe he's also traveling around with an Esquire journalist following him these last couple of days.
Oh, that's only upside. This is only going to be total upside.
Doing a profile piece, so that's going to work out really well. But hey, look, I mean, Dershowitz aside, nobody's scoring any points today, I don't think.
Well, I think one of the things is that there are better and more refined arguments and places that need illumination on our side that you would have liked to seen in the 23 hours. And I know the president has to have wanted to have. You see, this whole thing it's coming out of the White House now about they just want to get a vote and get out of here. It's not going to stop. The acquittal on Friday does not stop this. They're going to be relentless. They're going to want to subpoena Bolton. They want to get to Bolton's notes. They're going to come up with another article of impeachment. This is, at some point, we have to lance the boil, right?
So, to that point, Rand Paul, someone just, I think it's Manu Raju or one of their congressional folks tweeted out a little bit ago. I'm sorry, it's Burgess Everett, said from a source close to Senator Paul, it's like, Sergio is probably typing his phone right there. But he said Paul's been trying to ask a question about the origin of the entire impeachment witch hunt and where it came from. And they won't let him ask the question. And so
they won't land. Roberts gets it and turns it over, or is this coming from leadership?
Well, that's what's unclear. And so Rand Paul is pissed off. But this is, let's just get right to the point.
We have to get to this.
I want to see some Rand Paul. I want to see some Josh Hawley. I want to see some flamethrowers. I want to,
We haven't seen the whistleblower. I thought they were holding that reserve for like a big finish tonight or to open tomorrow morning. You got to get there. You got to do it.
At this point, I would do it just to go and change up the news cycle and get it away from being all
I think the president ought to start tweeting out, potential questions.
Wow.
Inquiring minds want to know, right? Just to give guys some heads up. This is, by the way, it can be used to your advantage. I actually think this question and answer is a good way to have and now I can understand why they're not having a rebuttal. This question and answer should be your rebuttal time. You should have those questions asked by your jurors, right? Because each party's got them. To get you've got that look on your face. You're about to break some news here.
Yeah, well, of course. That's all I do is I break news. Question from Cruz to Schiff that just came up, and this is coming out of the War Room. And so credit to Greg Manns and those guys in the War Room following this. The ICIG, this is the question from Cruz to Schiff. The ICIG said the anti-Trump whistleblower had political bias in favor of Biden. Did the whistleblower work for or with Biden on anything related to Burisma or the firing of the Ukrainian prosecutor?
Is Ted Cruz listening to is he listening to War Room impeachment on a real-time basis?
And apparently Schiff refused to answer or didn't answer the question. So we'll get to the detail of that.
But this is fantastic. He doesn't want to touch it. I would barrage this guy, right? I'd give him 2 hours of whistleblower questions, the gnarliest questions you could ask, and just have it up there that he refuses to answer, right?
Well, and especially when you get a non-answer, you got to come right back to him. You got to come back to him on the next thing. And guess what?
Don't you think?
Then you come back to him again. Then
That's
you come
my
back to him
point.
again. And you know what?
We can make some 30-second spots out of that. His refusal to answer.
Yeah, and there was some earlier of putting...
You would make Schiff basically a fact witness this afternoon.
Yeah, start putting Schiff on trial and just make this the impeachment of Adam Schiff.
What is your relationship to the whistleblower? How long did your staff speak to the whistleblower? How many phone calls did they make to the whistleblower? Did they ever meet in person?
You know what?
Did they go down to the Union
But
Pub?
here's what I love about Cruz, and he tells you he's a great lawyer, right? The way he answered that first question, right, is a way kind of come around it where you're not saying, oh, you don't have your tinfoil hat on, right? It's to come in vis-a-vis Biden in the historical nature of their relationship when he was in the White House as VP, and the whistleblower was on the NSC. The whistleblower whose name will not be mentioned, right? Was he on the NSC?
Apparently, someone on the Trump campaign just put out a tweet that had the whistleblower's name in there, and Jake Tapper's having a full meltdown. He's tweeting out, "Someone on the Trump campaign mentioned the alleged whistleblower's name." Well, Jake, how do you know that?
Exactly.
The
How do you know?
whistleblower is?
Yeah. Thanks for giving the guy up, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, it could be any Eric.
How do you think this is? How do you think this is going to play out the rest of the evening? What do you guys? Where do you think? You think we're going to get more Rand Paul and more Ted Cruz? We're going to get now down to it.
I'm getting that sniff now that people are beginning to realize that our questions haven't quite been enough and haven't quite been enough to sort of keep the Democrats on the back foot and not let them advance anything. And there's a sniff of them beginning to advance something if the questions don't get tougher and rougher and more a steady stream. They're clearly more organized. They had the slides ready to go, all of that. And so just like the original claims that we made way back when, that perhaps our side were going to take a little bit longer to get used to the process, it seems like we're at that change-up point now.
We have another 2.5 hours to go today, right? We're going to go. We're going to go to 8
and
o'clock.
there was another missed opportunity. There was a big thing. We'll get a little bit to this after the break. And Raheem put this video up of John Bolton. It was an interview where he said the call with Zelensky was polite and cordial. That there were
Warm
and cordial. And there were the two calls. And so you have John Bolton, who's on video saying that
President's best witness.
Who?
A book deal, Bolton.
book deal Bolton.
God,
Yeah,
man.
it's the
Sean
20 minute
Hannity.
mark.
Sean Hannity.
He's just taking it from him.
Sean Hannity like went in and took his lunch money, took his lunch from him, and all of a sudden, Sean, anything else I can get you? As Sean Hannity referred to last night, sure, book deal, Bolton. You're so weak.
But here's the thing.
We trademarked this thing. He was going to send your kids to college.
We weren't ready to hit it out of the park. And Sekulow said he kind of said something positive. I mean, we literally should have come out like that first question. Here's the video. Like, yep, let's go and talk about book deal Bolton. Let's go and go through this. Let's go all the things. And absolutely, because look, why are we talking about a witness? It's because of the book deal Bolton, the leak. We're not talking about it for anything else. And this is the only reason why the whole witnesses debate is even happening. Let's take out his legs right now.
Right before we go to break, just one time. Did he mention the names of every senator? I thought a couple times he read the question but didn't mention the name. Did he actually mention the name for each senator that asked the question?
I believe sometimes he referred to the senator from the state that they're from.
Okay.
I'm not sure that he always read their name out.
Okay.
I was kind of confused.
I thought it was a
bit by
couple
that as
times
well.
he even missed it. I didn't know if he thought the question.
I think it might be just a microphone feed and audio feed thing that's about, about the mics being hot or not, which we have our own problems about that sometimes.
Do we, Vish? How do people go get information about pandemic and about impeachment?
Yeah, honestly, if you're not down to sit for the rest of the evening watching this, we've got the perfect filter in the form of Greg Manns in the War Room, filtering through all this with the rest of the War Room team, getting the best bits on the live blog. So warroom.org. The top story is the live blog. You can follow along with all the critical updates, all the critical tweets coming out of Jason Miller and the President of the United States, dominating that Twitter feed as well. And make sure you're following our Twitter feed at War Room 2020. That's at War Room 2020.
How do people get now? Where they go to get the podcast? And we need reviews. We need comments.
Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook. We're on all of them.
We'll be back with 142 in a moment.
War Room Impeachment. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
We're live from Capitol Hill, Wednesday, the 29th of January, 2020, episode 142. Raheem, Jason, Stephen K. Bannon, all here. We got some great clips here, Raheem. You want to steer us through here?
Yeah, before the break, we talked about this Adam Schiff response to a question about the whistleblower from Senator Ted Cruz. So I want to play for the audience Schiff's response to it. You decide for yourselves whether or not you think he's telling the truth.
Let me be clear about several things about the whistleblower. First of all, I don't know who the whistleblower is. I haven't met them or communicated with them in any way. The committee staff did not write the complaint or coach the whistleblower what to put in the complaint. The committee staff did not see the complaint before it was submitted to the Inspector General. The committee, including its staff, did not receive the complaint until the night before Acting Director of National Intelligence. We had an open hearing with the Active Director on September 26, more than 3 weeks after the legal deadline by which the committee should have received the complaint.
Is he telling the truth?
No, he's stone cold lying.
Pericles of Athens, I think, is not telling the truth, right? It's impossibility.
Remember,
I hate calling a guy a liar, but I think in this regard, it strains credulity to think that it rolled like that.
Remember, he previously lied about his connection and communications with the whistleblower as well. In September, in an interview with Morning Joe, he said, "We have not spoken directly with the whistleblower. We would like to." That turned out not to be true as well. So why would we believe Adam Schiff sitting up there today and saying, "Yeah, I still don't know who the guy is"? Firstly, everybody knows who the guy is, right? More people know the real identity of the whistleblower than they know the real identity of Superman in the comics, right? It's the world's worst kept secret now. And for Adam Schiff to stand up there and say he doesn't know who the whistleblower is, I mean, that is making a mockery, a laughing stock of these proceedings.
I want to refer back this morning to Lee Zeldin. Lee, look, he's a fire breather, but he's a very controlled guy, one of the top guys on foreign policy, top lawyer. What did he say about Schiff today?
He said he's is sociological. It was a
sociopath.
Sociopath, yeah.
So sociopathic and a pathological liar, right? I mean, it was pretty brutal for coming from a guy like Lee Zeldin.
That was pretty direct.
Pretty direct for another member,
Yeah.
right? Remember, this is not the House of Commons where they call each other names all the time. Raheem, you've got that pensive look.
I've got the breaking news look again. So we just not to derail this, but I just want to clarify something for the audience as well, because there are things breaking in real time. We want to add as much context as possible. When we talked about Rand Paul trying to ask a question earlier and not being able to ask a question, and we weren't sure as to why that was, who was blocking it. Okay, so Ben Jacobs Ben Jacobs wrote a really great article recently it was about some podcast out there. Anyway, Ben Jacobs has tweeted, per senior Senate GOP staffer, Roberts is screening the questions, and the question contains names of people who worked with Schiff and Schiff staff to start this whole mess in the House. So basically, the question, Rand Paul is not being allowed to ask the question about the origins of the House impeachment because it potentially contains names of people who worked with Schiff and Schiff's staff. Clearly, I guess that means that Rand Paul has put the whistleblower's name in the question, and that's why Chief Justice John
If I
Roberts-
was McConnell, I'd throw a penalty flag now. Hey, he's a sitting United States Senator from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If he wants to ask a direct question, he deserves a direct answer, right? I don't like this. I don't like the screening of this question deal.
Well, that may raise the question, what else is being screened out that we don't know about?
I haven't seen, during the day, I didn't see him take any cards and put them to a side. Or, you're saying maybe even in asking the question, he's taking out some stuff. He's doing a self-screen as it goes.
Yes, correct. That's what it looks like.
Listen, we've got to you got to put the whole whistleblower thing on trial, right? If you're not going to get the witnesses, if you're not going to only get Democratic witnesses, this is your shot. You got to roll, and I hope the president, has a few choice words or choice tweets for people tonight to make sure that folks are very focused. If not later tonight, then tomorrow. That you got to connect. You got to start asking questions that are going to connect dots.
It's clear they're worried about it. They know there's a direct cover up here because they know that when this person gets exposed and they start breaking it down, this person, people always forget, this person wasn't even on the call.
Yeah.
I mean, and so now they're going to jump in there and this.
Here's what I like about this, because I wasn't kidding about Pericles. He sounded like Shifty, Adam Schiff in this, right? He doesn't, when he's up there pontificating, he's got the films, he's all got it going. He can, that's when they're all loving him. Over here, it sounds Shifty. You keep him on his back foot by asking tough questions.
It's Obama with the teleprompter, right? It's the difference between Obama with the teleprompter and without.
Well, remember when they said when the video started about him doing the thing, he turned ashen gray,
Yes.
right? We got to get more ashen gray.
Difference between being a prosecuting attorney and a defense attorney.
But look, if they're going to play, and if the Chief Justice is going to play silly buggers about the questions, right, then the Republican senators have to do it back. Write a question out where in acrostic it spells out the name of the whistleblower. The first letter of every word would spell out. You got to punch back and get your questions through somehow. And frankly, if the Chief Justice isn't going to allow Rand Paul to ask the question, then Rand Paul should get up in front of television cameras and ask the question in the break.
Yeah, we were like on my way into the Senate today, I ran into my friend Eric, who said, "You need to ask a question about the whistleblower." Like, let's get
work it in somehow.
Yeah, let's get creative.
By the way, before we move on, silly what? We have
Silly buggers.
this is an American audience. What is that? I just want to make sure everybody understands.
Just fooling around with it, messing
Fooling
around
around,
with
okay,
it. Silly buggers.
Anything else we want to clear up here in the questions before we go to the European Parliament?
Well, I do want to get onto this John Bolton thing as well.
Who?
Well, I did
Bill
see. It's
Thank
not,
you. Hit your cue.
It's not mine to take
Because I haven't been eating.
Jason's already been ripped.
Unbelievable.
I haven't been eating any carbs, so like.
Okay, hold it. intellectual property. This is what's called the long tail. Okay, you own that. That's yours. Okay, you get paid every time it comes up.
Hannity did you like China does America on
Oh
intellectual property.
God! Oh man!
Too soon.
Oh man!
Too
Oh
soon.
man!
All right, so John Bolton, this video surfaced of Book Deal Bolton giving an interview in Ukraine just after the phone calls that allegedly started off this whole impeachment process. I want to get you guys to listen to what John Bolton said then about the relationship between Ukraine and the United States and the Trump-Zelensky call versus what Bolton and the manuscript are allegedly supposed to say now.
Well, I will be meeting President Zelensky. He and President Trump have already spoken twice. President called to congratulate President Zelensky on his election and then on his success in the parliamentary election. They were very warm and cordial calls. We're hoping that they'll be able to meet in Warsaw and have a few minutes together because the success of Ukraine, maintaining its freedom, its system of representative government, a free market economy free of corruption, and dealing with the problems of the Donbass and the Crimea are high priorities here, obviously, but high priorities for the United States as well.
Taking care of corruption.
Wow, that's it. Don't
Taking
miss the
care of-
buried lead.
The buried lead, taking care of corruption. A warm call. Would a warm call be part of you're shaking the guy down?
Would it be a drug deal?
Would it be a drug deal?
So
Didn't sound quid pro quo-y, did it?
no, and he's admitting right there that he lies about everything. How do you go and say warm and cordial on this TV interview and then turn around and call your buddies at Javelin and say, hey, I want to go and shake down Simon & Schuster for a few $million
Because
bucks?
it's the way I get $3 million, right?
That's how you get $3 million. That's why it's Book Deal Bolton.
Wow.
Hat tip to Javelin.
There's one other aspect to the Bolton thing, just real quick, because I want to get this Nigel stuff that's very important. Another thing today, Elliot Engel,
Yes.
congressman from New York, said that he got a phone call that he spoke with John Bolton on,
Oh, this is a feeding frenzy over this. Because
Yeah.
of connecting dots about the calls and everything like
on
that.
September 23rd, and that Bolton told this Democratic congressman to look into the Marie Yovanovitch firing and said, there's something there. You need to go and look into it. So so John Bolton is out there dishing left and right and trying to undermine President Trump. And I think this is pretty unseemly.
But this is the other thing. Even if why does it come up now? That would not be something that came up in all these different, forums, and we wouldn't have heard this.
Why didn't it come up last week? Why didn't it come up when they started this trial? Why are they literally saving it until it's because they've known about the book drop,
Yeah.
they've known about the coordination. When they say they didn't know about the timing and they did,
Here's the thing for the folks in the White House. I know it feels like Fort Apache, right? Because the whole world's down. You're fighting, but it's not going to end. Friday doesn't end it. Because you're going to get stuff like this. You get guys like Engel. It's going to be relentless. They think they got Bolton. They're going to try to weaponize Bolton. They want to get to those notes. It's not going to end. That's why I think some sort of, however this is done, through these questions, through if they want witnesses and they're going to get them, fight for hard, and it doesn't look great to get the whistleblower. But this boil's got to be lanced, right? Because they're not going to stop. They realize that they don't have anybody on the field out there in Iowa that can take him on. Okay, as the air comes out of the Biden, and they're Manchin got the memo. They're prepared to throw Biden right under the bus. Right? I mean, up until Dershowitz stepped on it, the lead tonight would have been Manchin. Right? The shocking revelation on Morning Joe. So I just think it's not going to stop, and we're going to see it's just going to continue. Right? They're going to go back and I think start subpoenaing people. If there's acquittal on Friday or Saturday, they'll start this process over again just to drive it as deep into
they'll say this was a sham trial. This was an unfair trial. We're going to go and do it again.
Exactly.
We're going to do it for real this
right,
time.
Right. And we've got now John Kelly as a fact witness. We want Bolton as a fact witness. We want Anonymous as a fact witness. Right. They're going to get it all.
Question was just raised in there. What did Hunter Biden do for Burisma for all that money? And Pam Bondi went up there and effectively laid out that there was nothing he could have done which merited that amount of money from a foreign company going to the vice president's son. Pam Bondi was especially impressive the other day, but there's a lot of Twitter sentiment out there right now from people on our side who said she kind of flopped the answer on it. It was a bit of a word salad, but we'll check it out after the show.
The answer today. Well, she
just
did
now, a minute
she
ago.
did a
She did do a great job.
She did a great job the other day. Teeing up, they were two of the highlight reel. They frickin' fracked it, which I thought was fantastic.
Like everybody has off moments.
Before we run out of time, it's a historic couple of days here. Raheem, particularly for you who have labored in the vineyard for over a decade. I met you in 13, and before the European, so 12 or 13, and now this has come to fruition. 8 years later?
Yeah.
Are coming this massive thing that will happen on event that will happen on Friday, which will be the United Kingdom will actually be leaving the European Union after really being part of the common market and everything for 40, 50, 60, 70 years post-war World War II, all led by the guy who you were chief of staff at one time. You were campaign manager, you were chief strategist, you were comms director.
Head propagandist.
Head propagandist. In fact, you started, I think, as chief of staff and thing and went down to, I don't want to
Yeah,
I don't want to say your career path, and ended up at Breitbart.
I went back to receptionist.
Yeah, it ended up at Breitbart, right, as your pay. No, but
Now I tell people where they can download the podcast.
in breaking news. I'm a breaking news voice on the John Fredericks Radio Network. No, but it's got to be because I remember you guys, when I first met you, you talked about this, you talked about how you were going to do it. To say that people laughed at that was to give it too much credit. I mean, you guys were considered a complete and total joke. Cranks, outsiders, this will never happen. This is always part of it, not just the establishment, the political mindset, BBC. You had everybody, the City of London, which is Wall Street over there. You had all the corporatists. You had the whole culture. You had the political culture, and your worst enemies were the Tory party. In fact, the reason we had remembered the whole idea of starting Breitbart London is that the Daily Telegraph had gotten, what you guys call it, too wet. It had gotten too soft, and they were all EU guys, right? They were essentially globalists. There was no Little England party anymore. There was no party of really the British people.
It's so funny that you use the word cranks there, because actually that was one of the pejoratives that was used to describe UKIPers, UK Independence Party members, by the high command of the Conservative Party. They called us gadflies and cranks. And so what we did in response was, much like you guys own deplorables, we started the Gadfly Club and started having dinners every week under the Gadfly Club. And it came with very nice ties, actually, of gadflies and cranks on the ties.
People should know in 14, when I went over there for the European parliamentary election, it was just like the Tea Party revolt of 2010, the exact same type of folks, the same intensity. You could see that you guys had plugged into something and were driving something.
Yeah, and we were called, and Nigel's obviously been doing this for 27 years, so I'm not going to take credit for all the things that came before me and that have come since I left the partisan politics over there. But I had a call from Herman Kelly, who's Nigel's chief of staff in the European Parliament, chief communications officer in the European Parliament today, and he said, "Look, mate, I just want you to know that everything you did, we wouldn't be here if you hadn't done what you had done when Nigel gave you the call." And I was very, very humbled by that. Of course, it was a massive movement across the whole country that started at 4% in the polls back in the early 90s. Back during the Maastricht Rebellion.
People out there always remember that. Always remember that. These things start very small, very obscure. You get things. Nigel Farage, on the day after the vote of UKIP in late June of 2016, said in the first interview he did on BBC, said, if it was not for Breitbart London and really James Delingpole and Raheem Kassam, there would not have been a media platform to get the word out. The Daily Telegraph were Remainers, right? They had not interested in Leave at all at the time.
Well, certainly culturally Remainers. I mean, I think they had this sort of Brexit in name only mindset and mantra, which is a lot, by the way, and we can get into this in the final segments of the show, which is a lot of what we're still seeing from the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom. And the reason I'm not going back there for the celebrations at the end of this month and for the leaving ceremony and all of this and the big party in Parliament Square is because while we are technically not part of these institutions, we're actually not leaving these institutions for the next year. There's a transition period of about a year.
December 31st is hard out, supposedly.
Can be sort of tinkered around with. So this is not the moment in and of itself. And I'm still of the belief that the 23rd of June should be our Independence Day as a national holiday. But this is what we see on Friday. This is a major, major moment because it marks the point at which there is no return. There is no turning back. There may be slowing down if things get really, really bad, if there's really some kind of national crisis, national emergency, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. But this is the point of no return.
And this is why it's important for an American audience. Brexit and the 2016 Trump revolution revolt are inextricably linked. And the established order in both countries, the established order of the Party of Davos, fought this tooth and nail. They now have, it's ironic that, and by the way, I keep saying this, if it was a movie script and we pitched to be thrown out of the room, think about the possibilities. On Friday, we may actually have the United Kingdom leave the European Union on the day of Brexit, and Donald Trump be acquitted in the nullification project, both of which were there to stop Brexit and to stop Trump.
Remember, the nullification project of Brexit is marked by the end on Friday as well. They tried through the courts, they tried through the Supreme Court, they tried through Project Fear, which is the propaganda effort, they tried through attacking the royal prerogative. They did everything they possibly could think of to stop this, much like what's going on here with the impeachment, right? And Nigel started this thing, his maiden speech in 1999 in the European Parliament. I've put a little juxtaposition clip here for you. The first part is Nigel effectively around my age, and the second part is now. And then after that, we'll play the best bit of his speech in the European Parliament today. But listen to this.
Most people in the UK thought we joined a free trade area.
My mother and father signed up to a common market, not to a political union, not to flags, anthems, presidents, and now you even want your own army.
See, you see how those two clips, that was the beginning
great.
was back then and this one now, but really what happened today in the Parliament. So this was vintage Nigel. Remember, Nigel Farage became famous because of his YouTube videos that were pulled from his European Parliament speeches, thrown up on Zero Hedge and all these other websites.
This is why I knew we needed to start something at Breitbart. I was mesmerized. I'd watch all those things. I said, first off, this guy's the best orator of his generation. I mean, this is throwback to Churchill's type of stuff, right?
Yeah. So let's play this. This is vintage Nigel Farage. There's no sort of highfalutin rhetoric. It's in your face. Let's be having you.
There's an historic battle going on now across the West, in Europe, America, and elsewhere. It is globalism against populism. And you may loathe populism, but I tell you a funny thing, it's becoming very popular. And it has great benefits. No more financial contributions, no more European Court of Justice, no more common fisheries policy, no more being talked down to, no more being bullied, no more Guy Verhofstadt. I mean, what's not to like? I know you're going to miss us. I know you want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye. And we'll look forward in the future to working with you as sovereign.
If you disobey the rules, you get cut off. Could we please remove the flags? Mr. Farage, could we remove the flags, please?
That's it. It's all over. Finished. We've gone.
Could I please ask for quiet?
And you hear there at the end the European Union at its most imperialistic and worst. They always pretended this wasn't about the erasure of nation states, national symbols and borders. And there you have the head of the European Parliament saying, "Put away your dirty flags."
Put away your dirty. I'm pleased to announce that Nigel Farage in person will be here on the War Room next week. He's coming. He's going to be here on the day of the President's State of the Union, and we're going to host a lunch for him at the historic Breitbart Embassy and have him on the show. So Nigel Farage will be flying over from our mother country to come here next week and to be part of it. We're going to see him in New York and see him here. He's fantastic. I got to tell you, the leadership and everybody out there in the Trump movement should understand these things start. If you do not give up, if you're absolutely relentless, and to hear him right there say, hey, it's come down to globalism versus populism. You can even see this look, we have populism on the right as identified by President Trump and the Trump movement, and you have populism on the left with Bernie Sanders and AOC. That's where the energy is in this country. We have, sometimes we think the problems are the same on the left and right. We have very different solutions, right? Very different solutions than AOC. But the little guy is finally getting a voice, right? And Nigel Farage is the voice of the little guy.
And they might cut his mic, but that doesn't stop him speaking.
Oh, God, he loves that.
Yeah.
What a great finish. How can people, by the way,
you wanna do
Pandemic tomorrow, we're going to have Dr. Stephen Hatfield, who's going to be on Lou Dobbs tonight, will be in the studio Thursday and Friday with us, 2 days back to back.
Jason, did you have an update as well?
Yes, we have Congressman Mike Johnson from Louisiana, part of the Trump defense team, in here in studio, 9 a.m. tomorrow. I think we have another Trump defense team member that's going to be lined up for Friday, we believe. But Mike Johnson definitely come tomorrow. This will be 3 days in a row.
He's a smart
with,
guy.
With Trump defense team.
Lesko,
folks coming
Zeldin,
through.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And we're very honored that they would join us, take time out of their very busy days to join us here on the War Room. Make sure you're checking out the live blog at warroom.org.
And keep watching these question sessions. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Session 142 over.